Well, joining me in the studio now is Ken Clearwater of the Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse Trust, one of tomorrow's guest speakers. Thanks so much for coming in, Ken.
You're welcome, thanks.
It's thought the number of boys abused before 16 years old is around 1 in 8. You think it's probably closer to 1 in 3. Either way, it's shocking. Where do the stats come from?
The stats we have in New Zealand it used to be 1 in 10 boys and 1 in 4 girls. I've just returned recently in March from New York, where the research has come out that we're still with the 1 in 8 here in New Zealand. Australia looking at the 1 in 6, Canada a 1 in 4, and the United Kingdom a 1 in 3. And I believe from the work that we've done over the last 10 to 15 years that 1 in 3 would be as close as anything.
OK, ACC say that 80% of their victims are women, which would leave 20% to be men. Yes. If the right statistics could be recorded, what do you think those percentages would actually be?
Well, I think that the reason it's 20% of the ACC victims or who receive ACC help are men or boys is because they won't come forward. So it's about here in New Zealand allowing a place for male victims to come forward, and I think those figures would go sky high. Okay. We have no research on male victims.
What do you think the percentage would probably more likely be?
I think it's at 1 in 3 for boys and 1 in 3 for girls as well. So, okay. So it just means that, I mean, even with that 80% that are getting ACC support for women and girls, there's still thousands out there that aren't getting that support.
Why is it so hard for men to come forward and talk about this?
There's huge issues, but a lot of it is because we're in a male culture, of course, and so it's very difficult to come forward, because if you came forward as a victim of sexual abuse, whether you're a child or an adult, then you're a victim, and very difficult in our society for a male to be a victim of something, not accepting, like if his car was stolen, we can go to the police, but to say that you've been sexually abused is the shame and guilt that goes with it. You may be perceived as gay and definitely perceived as weak, so that holds males back from coming forward.
There's another element to that too, though, isn't there, that people think that it's maybe not so unpleasant for boys as it is for girls?
Especially if a male's been sexually violated by a woman or a female, then everyone will think, oh yeah, that's okie dokie, but no, it's definitely I don't know of any men that have seen it as a pleasurable experience. Most of them have found it very frightening. So
that attitude comes from the culture of a sort of masculine culture, as you say?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
OK. Yeah. Because Aaron Gilmore, of course, when he went to the police, said that the policewoman said to him, well, I really don't see a crime here.
Yeah, and at that stage when Aaron was going through that, it was not a crime in this country for women to sexually violate children. And so we found out about it in 1998 and approached government then. And it took even that long for them to have a look at changing that law.
And as part of changing that law, it meant that women would be sentenced to the same sorts of sentences that men get. Well,
it would have been nice to see that equality, but it doesn't happen that way.
It's still a problem.
It's still a huge problem.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, we're doing everything we can, and we have been, like I say, on a regular basis. But for some reason, it's just really hard to get across that males are victims. And we only just, I think it was last year or the year before, I finally sat at government table with male survivor victims, and that was in year 2008. So it's taken that long for us to get male victims to the table. And in the part earlier on, when you talked about the prisons, we've got statistics from Australia that show that 67% of men in prison were sexually violated in childhood. The Americans and the Canadians have between 59 and 67% of men in prison have been sexually abused in childhood. So
what would that mean? If we could address it, we could reduce the number of people in prison?
Oh, hugely, definitely. And also the mental health system. A conference was held here in 1997 in Auckland, Male Survivors, The Untold Story, and out of that 62% of men in psychiatric care had been sexually abused in childhood.
OK, we don't have much longer to go. Tell us about the summit tomorrow.
Really looking forward to the summit. I think it's just absolutely amazing, and once again we have to take our hats off to the women for doing this, and huge love and appreciation to the women's movement and the women who have been working really hard in this country to bring sexual abuse out into the open. And tomorrow I'm just hoping that this country will finally get to see the disgusting problems we have with the sexual abuse of men, women, boys and girls in New Zealand.
All right, well, good luck to you. Thanks so much. That's Ken Clearwater from the Male Survivors of Sexual Abuse Trust.